Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Today I'm with a member of the Flatbush Zombies. You've seen him on The Breakfast Club, The Therapy Gecko. He's been on Nardwar as well, it's always exciting to have a guest who's been on Nardwar. He recently, in the past couple months, has dropped a song with James Blake, gearing up for his new album. It's my pleasure. And he's also been on Travis Thompson and Jake One's latest project as well. It's my pleasure to have on Erick The Architect.
Yes, sir. It is I. How's it going, brother?
It's going great, man. It's crazy. You're like, do you know what Spinrilla is by any chance?
Yeah.
So
that's like the website with the mixtapes and stuff, right?
Yes. So unfortunately, I think it was either this year or last year, it like filed for bankruptcy because of illegally having music. but I think that's what mixtapes are kind of all about. So R.I.P. to them. But
yeah, R.I.P.
with that, back in like 2014, I discovered Clockwork Indigo, and I had never even heard of Flatbush Zombies at that point. So it was interesting to have that mindset, like going in, following, like, it's like you guys have only dropped like one collaboration album, I think, under Clockwork Indigo. So it's interesting as like a fan to come in for something so niche and not even know anything else existed. So with that, like how long into your career was Clockwork Indigo even founded?
Wow. So Clockwork Indigo came out I didn't release an album. We didn't do, so 2016 we released A Lace Odyssey 3001 as Flatbush Zombies. But we all Clockwork Indigo, so it was Issa, AK, Erick, Meech, Juice. We all lived in the same building. And once we finished Better Off Dead, there were songs that I was creating with them pretty organically. Like me and Meech lived in the same house. AK and Issa lived next door. They were like we're almost like roommates, because we would just leave both the doors open and we could walk like that to each other's houses. And Juice lived downstairs. So we had already released Better Off Dead and Drugs as a group before we did Clockwork Indigo. And I already had put out a bunch of stuff, like Almost Remembered in 2011. I put out stuff in 2010 as like a solo artist. So yeah, that was like kind of in between that and making our first album is when we did Clockwork Indigo.
That's wild. That's like one of the first, like, I guess you can consider that like an underground type mixtape. That was the first thing I really discovered on my own, that type of like something that wasn't really mainstream at that moment. So it really is like a full circle moment to like be talking with you. And I personally didn't know until like doing more research too. And congrats on like how fucking amazing of a producer you are. I had no idea that you were like the main producer for everything. Still, I'd say Butterfly Effect is still like one of my favorite just beats in general. That's because there's like there's sampling like 3 or 4 different things in that song alone. Like I know that's almost like 10 years old now, but like how did that even come to be?
Bro, that is like, I'm so happy you said that, because that has to be one of my favorite beats. I was actually ranting the other day to a bunch of people about like the difference between production and beat making. And I was like, that record really flexed the production muscle that I was trying to really like do at the time. And I think that I hadn't made a record that involved so many people until that song. You know, you had all 5 of us as MCs. You had Espa, who was also singing. I sang with her. My other friend Jod Knight was on keys. Obviously I flipped the sample. So it was quite, man, that whole process really took a lot of people's energy, time, and effort and trust in me, because it was like essentially the same beat over and over again. And usually that means that like you grow ear fatigue, or, you know, you have to put enough switch ups and something to be interesting to hear something that long. So that was like a real test for me, because the song is quite long, but I didn't want it to end, you know? Man, it's literally one of my favorite productions. I'm so happy you said that, because it never reached DSPs. A lot of people still don't know about the record.
Wow.
But that's kind of what makes it cool too, because you got people who are like day ones, or they might have found me like you did
Hmm.
through the song. So yeah, like I'm so happy, man. That's one of my favorites easily.
And you started the song off too. Like you were like the
Yeah.
first verse. That shit's crazy. Like because sometimes I'm only 22, so like I'm still like I'm young enough where like by 10 I heard about like at 10 I heard more about Andre 3000 before I even heard about Outkast. So like at 10 I'm being like, oh shit, he's in this duo. Like that's a crazy mindset to have, to like discover one of the biggest duos in the world after someone's
Yeah.
solo music coming out.
That's just the age gap, you
Yeah.
know. It's if you were 32, I'd be like, what the fuck? But 22, it makes sense. Yeah.
But it's interesting. But for like, so for you, did you start out as a solo artist or did you start out in a group? Because I always wonder how easy or difficult it is for like an artist who either wants to break off from a group or what to get their name, like recognition for their solo work as well.
Yeah, I was a solo artist for a long time. That was when I was introduced to music, I was rapping first, and in high school, I was like 15 or 16. I joined a group in high school, and that kind of kicked off like my interest to like making beats.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd make beats for us and stuff. Another homie in the group too used to make beats. And once I graduated from high school, I went to college, and I started to pursue things on my own. Um, and yeah, bro, by like 2011, I was putting out a lot of shit. Still, people tell me to this day that that's like some of their favorite stuff, just because it's like more low key,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like little Easter eggs because a lot of people weren't. They were tapped in. I would say that Flatbush Zombies exposure at the beginning, a lot of people didn't know I was in the group because I wasn't in the videos all the time. I wasn't on
Right.
all the songs, but I was just trying to do something that I thought matched my energy at the time. And for me, making beats and writing these songs with these guys was really my motive. But it did make people kind of forget that I was a solo artist beforehand. Even though I would pop out and do instrumentals or do little offerings on a song, I did 222, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like those songs would help really like pull everything together and be like, oh, this dude does do stuff by himself. But I was always a solo artist for sure.
Got it. So you're pretty good at like juggling that now at this point.
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's fucking
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Like you literally just landed the feature on the Jungle album. That shit was crazy.
Yeah, man. Shout out to them, man. Like I've been working with Lydia from Jungle for some years now. So it was really crazy to actually link with the entire band. But they're great people. I just performed with them at the Forum in Inglewood.
Yeah, I saw your Instagram videos. That shit looked crazy.
Bro, oh my God. That song makes so many people so happy. And just to it's surreal to me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because most people by this time of their career are probably like not elevating. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So it's like interesting that I'm grateful, I'm blessed that, you know, God has given me the ability to continue to champion and to push beyond maybe like where I was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So the features have been really helpful. People starting to see me in a light that I've always wanted to be seen in, actually.
Yeah, you've got some crazy, and I feel like you definitely go out there, like out of your way with some of these, like, oh, what's that one guy's name? That's like Loyal or something like
Yeah, Lil Connor.
yeah, like it seems like you when you do decide to like bring people onto your projects or like you work with other people, it seems like you're finding like cool people that like may seem niche but have a huge following inside that niche. So that's a cool thing that I've noticed you do.
Yeah, bro, that's probably just the producer in me, man. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't I haven't been producing as much since I started to release a lot of stuff alone, but I think that it's more interesting to familiarize me with people who have their own thing that are maybe not um I don't purposely do it, but I look for the talent first.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll click to see how much followers and shit they have. I don't really care about like I don't care about that more than I care about the ethics of the music and what the message is. And I think that over time, you're able to do that. It's like A&Ring, you know what I'm saying? You might see somebody the very beginning of their career, the baby stage, you know, maybe like the first 1 or 2 years, and I'm seeing the potential then. Like this person is gonna really pop off. I always try to make sure I reach out to an artist when I discover them and not like he probably is too whatever, or I'm bigger than him, let me not hit him up. Like my
Right.
ego doesn't get involved in that, especially because like this person, if I'm right, this person is gonna really do something big, and I want to be sure to like reach out to them before they think I'm just riding a wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I guess you could say your music kind of came up like in the internet era, so you probably
Hmm.
are used to being open to like talking to people online about like new music and shit.
Yeah, for sure. I would say right before um when Spotify and Apple Music became the means of how everybody like discovered music.
Hmm.
I was releasing music on YouTube and shit. That was just the way you just put your shit online and send it out to people. Like there was no like social media format really to like push and we had Twitter, but it wasn't like so important.
Yeah,
Or X, whatever the fuck you call it
fucking
now.
X. Yeah,
RIP, I guess. But yeah, it was a different time. And I think that now we have all these different platforms to push our music, and independency gives you the freedom to be able to use that and not be at the leisure of someone else.
hmm,
Or you know I've been independent this whole time, still using the internet, and watching guys like Soldier Boy and shit like that use the internet. Growing up was mad inspiring. Like this dude's just like releasing so much shit on the internet, and regardless if you liked it or not, people
yeah,
were clicking it, and people learned about monetizing and how to make money from people just being interested in what you look like, and what you got to say today. And now to see where it's enveloped into is kind of wild. I've been around for that long to see that change.
for sure. So, are the Zombies part of a label and you're independent, or how is that?
Nah, we all
Wow,
very independent. Yeah.
that's crazy shit.
This
That
whole time.
damn. So, what is this? What do you think? Is it just because you were able to focus on building that community aspect? Do you think that's really what helped you guys, or what is like, what would be
Yeah.
your advice for
I
independent
don't think
artists?
we've ever received, nor myself nor the group, we've never received any real cosign. It was never like, well, this big bro put us under, like, yo, come over here and come with us. It was
Mm,
always by ourselves. And I think that we spoke to a regime of people who were just feeling like they didn't belong. And it's powerful when you can make something that impacts people that look like you and the people who are the opposite of what you look like. And music is a universal language, so we're part of a consciousness that most people um, feel. I think they identify with maybe some of the values of what the group means. So it became easier for us for like, if you're a fan of me, you're a fan of us, however you want to cut it up. It probably means you're a certain type of person.
hmm,
As of right now, I think that a lot of the music I release by myself has demonstrated a lot of my production, and maybe like the last project, Future Proof, I did was quite, I released it during COVID. So a lot of people actually needed that to latch onto.
hmm.
Let It Go did really well.
Fuck
And
yeah, I
that
love that
song,
song.
I mean, bro, like I never really thought recording that song that it would be like so popular. I've performed it on tour, my tour, the end of last year, and I performed it in London with Loyal Carner. So it was like I've only performed it maybe like 10 times at most, or something like that. Um, it is crazy to see how much it can impact people, and I realized the message of what I was saying is actually bigger than just a song on the internet. And I think culture and togetherness and community, those are all built around things that we all could relate to and feel. And I don't know
Mm,
if every artist is providing that. You know what I'm saying? Like so much of this is so insular to me, but at the same time, that same vulnerability can allow somebody else to feel comfortable in their own skin.
right. Do you think your music versus the Zombies music attract different type of people, or do you think it all blends together?
I think from what people have heard already, it's probably a similar bucket, but I think that my new album will attract, especially my next single, will attract a different fan base. I think that we've garnished a pretty cult following, but I think that my music alone is a little bit more about myself. And I made it quite clear in our music that I don't do psychedelics, and the other
Yeah.
guys are more into that stuff. I'm just a weird dude who I could just mold to anything. It's like magic to me. I love a challenge. So I would always be willing to be the canvas maker, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think right now it's in a transitional moment of, you know, the fan base, but I think that all the features I've done have really brought a lot of new people to my page and learning about who I am.
For sure. So do you think like that Breakfast Club interview made people think you guys were really into psychedelics, or was that already kind of like a stereotype that you guys had on your back that you guys were?
People were already like these dudes are weird. Um, I think that our name makes people think alone that we're like a rock band or some shit, or like we not from the hood. And I'm
Mm,
like, nah, bro. Like I'm from like 31st Street, East Flatbush. I'm like in the heart of one of the most like Caribbean populated areas in New York City and maybe the world. New York alone is just a melting pot of people, but people had never heard the type of stuff that we were saying from our neighborhood,
mm,
and no one, to my knowledge, has really taken their neighborhood name and put it in their band's name. And
right.
then we're actually a band because you have a producer that makes all the music. There's rap groups, which is dope, but only thing that separates a band from a group is like, well, do we outsource all of our music to another person, or does a member of this group make all the music?
Mm,
Much like, to me, like what Pharrell was to the Clips.
yeah,
It's like when he was there, there was a different vibe they had with the music. And to me, that was what bands are. And something like that was really inspiring to me to see somebody like be responsible for the sound and curating it.
for sure. It is wild because I rewatched that Breakfast Club interview because I was like, what? That was 2016 or 2017. It was,
Yeah, it's a minute ago.
but I forgot. I didn't realize that I had already watched that when it first came out. So that's probably like I think it's like 9 years old now or something. So
Yeah,
even as a listener for like me, like for the past 10 years, I've thought of you guys doing psychedelics because of that interview. So it's interesting how um, that's what's so cool about podcasts is that they're kind of like time capsules
for sure.
for better or for worse, you know.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
maybe it's also because you guys do talk a lot about and even with the title Clockwork Indigo, like Indigo Children and Starseeds. And I'm pretty sure you guys are pretty into that stuff, right?
For sure. I mean, they introduced that really to me because, you know, I think that I was more, I grew up in church. So, and actually Juice's grandmother is a pastor.
Nice.
So like we had a lot in common growing up in the same neighborhood, but we all introduced to different shit. And I think that like psychedelics introduced more existential thoughts. And because I didn't do them, it was like I never really watched in judgment. I was just an observer, and I'm good at that. So I was just like, what the fuck is this? And we're like reading all these weird books and just studying and like trying to find out what inner light is. And like, it was deeper than just some guys taking acid to me. And I didn't live in judgment. So when I learned about Indigo Children, even the song 222 that I did, I didn't realize the impact of what I was really uncovering.
Hmm.
It was like just a number at the time. I just hit save on a file and I typed in 222. I think that was the time it was
Hmm.
when I saved it. And then this number followed me around till right now. And I drew this picture, drew the triangle, and I'd put 222 inside the triangle. And then people like, yo, that's like perfect. That's like exactly what I see. And when I think of when I hear the song, it's like duality and balance and change. And like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know how I discovered that.
Hmm.
And people thought it was a lot deeper than it really was to me because it just came to me. And I almost feel like any great idea, any genius idea that comes to you is because it naturally, it naturally finds you. I don't think I wake up and think genius ideas. It's something that comes from your effortlessness, the effortlessness that's achieved by you working on something every day and caring so much. So things like
Yeah,
that,
I like that.
indigos and all, bro, all that shit was such a mystery to me, man. And it was really all the guys that had put me onto all that knowledge. Um, yeah, and that's kind of how I came apart, especially because they were already like doing acid and mushrooms and all this kind of shit. And I'm just like, yo, bro, like if I do that stuff, I think I'm gonna lose my mind because I'm already out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Look at the shit I'm wearing. Like I'm ready in outer space, bro. You know
No
what I'm
doubt.
saying?
Can you break down for people who don't know, like what an indigo child is and what a starseed is, and how they may relate, but how they're also kind of different?
Um, I would say, and the definition can obviously change depending on, I would say a generation of you saying indigo children, much like my friends underachievers. They say
Mm-hmm.
we're indigo children. Basically, I look at how we adopt our information from our parents. You know, they obviously the DNA, the blood that created us is the generation before us. And we have obviously millennials and Gen Z and Gen X and all that shit. I think indigo children are definitely um it's dicey, bro. It's almost like saying like we're a part of this elite out of mind thinking group of people who've already walked this path already.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of aware that we're already special. And if you're tapped into your ability and your knowledge from your existence in your life now, it means kind of like that you already walked this path before. And your consciousness is attached to other people who have the same thought. So all of us are part of a universal consciousness that speak together and almost like from your third eye. So it's beyond physical. It's literally spiritual and emotional. It's no longer present here on earth. It's beyond us. And I think that this has existed for longer than we really understand just because we rapped about it or you say something is predestined or
Mm-hmm.
that you believe that you can be whatever you want. You know, you hear that shit as a kid, but this is like the actual recognition that we can. And you share that experience and understanding, that feeling with other people through this consciousness that's like invisible. I don't know if that helps explain it, but it's
No, for sure.
extremely it's a potent topic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then star seeds. I feel like star seeds is the thing where anyone could be a star seed or no.
Mm,
I feel like indigo because basically I forget. It was probably 3 years ago. I created a second podcast called the BBC podcast, which is a pun, but
mm,
also it stands for like my name is Blake Burton and my co-host for that is Brian Barnett. So we both have the same initials. So it's like Blake Burton and Brian Barnett conspiracies. And one of the
okay.
first episodes we did was Star Seeds and Indigo Children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think were you guys like on a Vice thing about Star Seeds or something? You were either on a
Possibly.
Vice thing or like just a tour video on tour or something. I could have sworn I saw
Mm-mm.
something. I'm thinking I'm going to look at it afterwards.
It might have been something that Meech and Issa was on. I think
Okay.
if I remember it right. I think so.
But that got me
Yeah.
like me and Brian into like wanting to do like more a deep dive into Indigo Children and Starseeds. And I forget which one I felt like one of them was kind of hard to relate to people because
Mm.
how I interpreted it was anyone could be it versus when you were describing an indigo child, it seems like that's kind of predestined versus so
Yeah.
what is the definition of starseed again?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you.
Fair enough. I'm
Yeah,
just
I couldn't
trying to
tell you.
learn stuff. Like my role in that other podcast is like I'm more of like the skeptic on that, but I try to
Mm.
figure things out. Like someone gave me
You
like
watching with a magnifying glass, like
yeah, 100%. Like I got like someone gave me an amethyst and I have no idea what that is, but I put it on my windowsill and hopefully it gives me good luck. I have no idea what the fuck
yeah,
any of that stuff is. Or
it's
like
like to charge it.
yeah, oh
You know,
shit. Oh my god, I guess I am charging a crystal without even realizing it.
yeah, you got it in your window with the direct sunlight. It's definitely charging and
That's
giving it energy.
hilarious. I didn't even think about that. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm dead.
So, yeah, I had it charging for like 2 years and shit on my windowsill.
Oh my god. Wow, that's hilarious. But back on back on track. So the Zombies have been working with James Blake and you recently released a song with them called Parkour.
for sure.
How did that relationship come to be?
Bro, I've known him. I moved to LA 4 years ago. Um, bro, I've been a fan of James Blake since, bro, like I told him this recently. I was like, man, you've done some amazing shit. I really got into dubstep when I used to go to I used to go to like these parties in Williamsburg when I was in college, and me and my friend, actually my friend Sam, he's my DJ at the time. We were really into all that shit, Starkey and like fucking like bro, like Mux Mool, and there's a really like interesting scene that was going on in Brooklyn where people were making these beats that were like off time
Mm-hmm.
with these crazy synths, and that's when I discovered James Blake. And James Blake at the time was making shit like that, you know. So when I would hear what he formed into, where he was more vocalizing and using his voice as chops with dubstep, and then actually his most recent album, I think he's getting back to kind of the grassroots that made him, which is so funny because some people's like, this is different. I'm like, this is actually just vintage James Blake.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's something else.
Have you listened to it yet?
I did. It's sick.
I've only listened to a few. I haven't listened to it completely front to back, but I need to. I like Big Hammer so far, but I like
Big Hammer is crazy.
Yeah.
Like and some people, like he said, he's like, people wouldn't understand this if they just jumped on his journey. But I think what he's done allows him to have the freedom to do shit like that because people respect him so much now. And I think that he's been making quality music for such a long time that what he touches, people know literally is like certified,
Mm-hmm.
So all these things were things that I was aware of before I even met this man, you know what I'm saying? And I think he had done an interview or something, and one of my friends had said he mentioned me in an interview, and he said that I was one of his favorite producers. And
Damn.
I was like, bro, like what? I think like I have to hit him up. Like, let me just hit him up. And I hit him up and he responded and he's like, yeah, cool, that worked. Like, I'm glad that we got to connect through using the internet and shit, but like, let's make some music. And, his friendship really started from a song that we made without even knowing each other. And we never released it. But I had made the beat, him and I worked on it. And actually when I met him, I had a hernia that I had to have surgery on. And I met him, I was actually in a wheelchair. I was finishing our tour. It was horrible.
Damn.
And he was just like such a sweet guy, you know what I mean? Like, yo, bro, like I hope you feel better. And this is the first time me meeting him. So I was like, bro, like I feel like I'm banged up, but like I'm gonna be right and we're gonna get this music going. And I would say maybe like the year after I met him, I had started to come out to LA a lot, and we started cooking up. And it's actually a couple of tracks that we had did that are going to be on my new album from when I met him almost 5 years ago. So you could see kind of that, like, I think that when you make something timeless, especially built on real friendship
Mm-hmm.
and harmony, these things don't date, and I don't say shit that's relevant to the point where like sometimes you say something that may capsize your idea because you said something that's so trendy that you can't get out of it. It's
I randomly think of Young Jeezy's song "My President Is Black" about Barack Obama. I feel like that's a very specific example of time capsule song.
Like, we know that. Like, we know what year that song was made now. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes I think when especially music that you don't put out, it can hurt you because, artists are our own worst critics and shit.
Yeah.
Because we'll be like, oh, that's old. That's old. Like, I'm like, this shit that I do with him that's so old, but it don't matter. Like, it's a vibe. It's on a frequency that is timeless. And I think that having longevity is what you really want as an artist. Even if a song doesn't immediately skyrocket, it's because of the ability that it can actually last longer than just a month or have a hot season or a hot summer. You know what I'm saying? We talking about music that we want to last forever. I think that his music does that, and it just made sense that both of us unified and became like this clique, But I started working with him, and I worked with Don Maker from Mount Kimby as well. And
Nice.
we would cook up all the time, bro. Like, and that's before I moved to LA. So once I moved out here, it was game over, bro. It was like constantly creating and sharing ideas. He actually made me feel comfortable that I don't have to produce as much as I was. That shit was, as much as I love to do it, it was very taxing. And to try to prove that I could rap and songwrite was another goal of mine. And he allowed me to show that I'm really a multifaceted artist. I'm not a rapper, a producer that raps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm the architect. I had to really tap into someone who does it all and not just what people see from me, you know?
That's awesome when you can connect with an artist that like wants to see you grow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I think it was like last month I came across, you know, the song by him called, I think it's CYMK.
Yeah.
The basically I found a song on YouTube last month that Bad Bad Not Good remixed that song. Have you heard the remix of that?
Oh, nah.
Dude, I have to show you that. It's crazy. They turn it into like a
Crazy.
rock song somehow, but it's all like instrumental, you know, because they haven't had any like they didn't have a feature on it, but features with Bad Bad Not Good goes crazy all the time. Have you ever like do you ever listen to Bad Bad Not Good or?
Yeah. Like coming up, doing shows, we had been on the same card a couple
Oh
times when we
wow,
were first coming up. I haven't spoke to Alex, the drummer, in a minute, but that was like the person I had the closest relationship with.
dang. Because I
Yeah,
think they're
so
like how they connect with artists is similar to like a jungle thing where they can do their own thing
hmm
and it could be instrumental or they can have vocalists be on it or they can literally bring on a whole other artist. So it's cool to see like you're like I feel like they're very selective like those two groups even though they're
hmm
kind of different but I feel like they're the same with like how selective they are. So that's really cool to see like you've worked with jungle like yeah, jungle's fucking crazy. I'm still like blown away by that shit. But that's it's super cool. So I saw that you went to school for graphic design. Is that
Yeah.
correct? That's
hmm
wild. So is that so? Was your family pretty like supportive of you being like in art from the get go? Because you said you like were producing in school and rapping, and then you went to school for art. So what was that like for your
Yeah.
family?
Um, my family, they knew that I love music. Um, but you know, like most Jamaican households, it's like you need to do something because if that shit don't work out for you, what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't my pops, my moms wasn't on some like drop everything and go rap. They was more on some like, well, what are you gonna do if that doesn't work out? And music, although my family, my household always playing music, is like it seemed even we're talking about damn like 20, 25 years ago, bro. Like people were it wasn't a guarantee at all that your shit could go viral, whatever the fuck. Viral wasn't even a fucking thing. It was almost like people on TV and award shows were figments of imagination. They were like heroes. They were
Mm-hmm.
like celebrities. I didn't know anybody who even was a OG to tell me like the path to take, you know. So when I started to do design, it was really because I was interested in doing it outside of music. And I already knew how to do it, but my parents were just like, you better go to school for something that is beyond music because if music doesn't work out, I don't want you to be broke. I don't want you to be in the street. I don't want you to do this shit. And I was like, all right, well, I already kind of know what I'm doing, but now I want to actually learn in a higher education. You feel me? And I'm good at that shit, bro. Like I typography, design, animation. That was like what I went to school for, and
Nice.
I still do it. A lot of the early Flatbush Zombies merch we had done, I had done the all the work, all the designs, and I still work now doing some other shit. Like I don't put a ceiling on my creativity, and I think that for me, if I'm stressed out by music, because I don't know if these artists will cap and act like music is not stressful. It is stressful
Mm-hmm.
as fuck. Um, I like to draw. I like to do other shit. I find myself in stints of 3 or 4 months doing something really creative in a completely different field, So I'll do acrylic paint, or I'll collect Japanese dubs of my favorite American movies, or I'll do photography on a 6x7 camera, or like I'll just jump and shift to all these different things. I publish a couple books.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how I am, bro. I'm just a creative person, and music, art will always in tandem with each other. The thing that I really like to do was to be able to help other artists with the vision of somebody with the knowledge of how things are supposed to look um creatively something aesthetically pleasing, which fonts to use, the kerning, and all the nerdy shit that makes things people want to pick something up in the store or click it on the internet. That's like the things that I like to specialize in. So I was
Mm.
able to double down and do that for myself. And most artists would have to commission that or outsource that to another person, where I'm really behind it, bro. Like I'm so obsessed with that shit. You know, sometimes I have to step back because of my hands is too much in it.
Mm.
It was hard for me to allow anybody to do it for me. You know, even still to this day, I trust very few people with any of my design stuff, because if we don't speak the same language, I can't fuck with you. You know what I mean? One of the guys I work with doing all my design, him and I worked together at Guitar Center. Like both of us, he
Wow.
worked in guitars and I worked in pro audio. And when I was working there, he told me I should quit. He's like, yo, you're good at this shit, but like, you good at selling stuff, but like, you make good music, bro. You should go live your dream. And he was showing me some of his sketches at work. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know he could draw like that. We become the Flatbush Zombies, and I go tour, and I would see him. He moved to Canada. I would see him, and we would always check back. We would do a couple shirt designs and shit. And now this is like one of my close friends. Him and I do design work all the time. And you know, I'm grateful that I could still have people that saw me at that, I wouldn't say infancy part of my development of as an artist, but it was a very like immature learning phase. And
Mm.
this guy is somebody I still respect and get to work with him now, you know. So yeah, that's how important the art shit is, bro. It's not just like a hobby. This shit was like my job for a long time. I was actually a suit, bro. I was working in a lot of record companies doing this, you know. So
Really? I had no idea.
yeah, bro. That was like, if this shit didn't work out for me, that's what I would have been. I would have been making step and repeats for like some record company, you know, like wearing a fucking suit and tie probably at some point.
Dang, I also heard that you were like a sneaker reseller at one point too or something.
Yeah, that was crazy, bro. Yeah. Me and my friend actually we used to paint shoes too, but that was like a very short-lived thing. But yeah, I would always buy somewhat worse conditioned shoes and bring them and restore them.
Hmm.
And I knew that they were rare, so I would fix them and resell them back on eBay. I actually have an eBay plaque in my parents' house for how long I've been on eBay. I think I've been on eBay since I was fuck. I forget, it's a plaque for like, bro, it's been like 20 years or something like that.
Damn,
Oh shit. Yeah.
that's wild. Do you? I think it's everywhere. Do you know what OfferUp is?
I've heard that. Is that like it's like a Depop or some
It's
shit?
yeah, it's kind of like Facebook Marketplace, I think.
Hmm.
So like the OfferUp guy, I had no idea, but OfferUp is like from Washington, and like the owner was just like in the studio here the other day for like I was producing a podcast for him, and my friend is like he's a huge sneaker reseller, and he just made this company called Sneaker, I think it's Consign, and what
Mm.
it does, he brings it to like sneaker stores that aren't as big as like Flight Club or whatever, where they don't have like an integrated system. Where and
Hmm.
because a lot of these like thrift shops or sneaker stores, like a lot of the stuff is done like manually, and they have to like
Yeah.
write everything out, and things get lost, and like the refund process is crazy because of all the paperwork. And then he just came out with this software that all these different stores are starting to utilize, which is super cool. So it was cool to see that you are someone who has been into like sneaker reselling. I personally can't resell sneakers for shit. Like I can find good deals. Like
Yeah.
I have like Wave Runners and Jordans and everything like that. But like I can like today, like right before this even, I had a client and then I went to this random apartment complex to like try to buy these like fake plants. Because this year actually actually the last guest in this studio. I'm opening my own studio and
Oh shit.
yeah,
Congrats on that.
thank you. It's got exposed brick and everything. It's super cool. But the downside is there are windows, but it's like indirect light, so I can't get any actual
Uh,
plants. So right before this, I went to some like really like it was a pretty crusty apartment complex, and this lady was going to sell me these like three fake plants for $8, and I get there and they're like this big, in like styrofoam cups, and I was like, what the fuck? I can't. I'm not buying this shit.
That's not gonna help the vibe of the studio at all.
Yeah, not at all. But like, I could at least go and find, because that if I was into shitty fake plants and styrofoam cups, $8 would have been a steal. But I'm not. I'm not into that shitty of quality. But like, I'm really good at finding deals, but I can't sell shoes. I'd probably have a hard time if I bought brand new whatever. Like, I know we're not supposed to really talk about Kanye, but like if I bought like some new Yeezys, right, and I probably would lose $200 and someone would get them for like $50 somehow. Like, that's how bad I am at reselling things.
It's stocks, literally. That's why StockX was actually a pretty genius creation, because of stocks. It goes with, like you said, yay or whatever, like depending on what's happening in the person's life. You know, you got Sean Witherspoon is more popular right now. His sneakers will be.
Yeah.
And it's just, actually was cleaning out my storage unit in New York, and I found a pair of the Kanye Babes, which I've seen those sell for $4,000 or $5,000. I would have to repair them because they're kind of beat up, but yeah, I was really into it. Like, me and Meech actually worked at Foot Locker, so we worked there with 3 of our friends from where we actually lived on the same block. All of us. It's pretty nuts. He was the store manager, so we all working at the same time and shit. So yeah.
Damn, it seems like community and like collaboration is like huge in your life. That's pretty sick.
I always was with the homies, bro. Like, you know, I think I don't know, if I call myself the architect, you know what I mean? Like, I had to have some type of foundation and building and bringing people together. Even if I was just a part of a team, I was always okay with what I was. And I just wanted to wait till I have my own. And I'm okay with contributing in a small way or in a big way to help someone else, so I can eventually learn and do for myself. You know, that's like my ultimate goal.
For sure. And I also saw in like a couple of interviews, you've mentioned Keith Haring. Like, what is your background about enjoying Keith Haring artwork?
Man, I think that there's, especially because being from New York, always seeing his art as a kid, there's something about, and this is subjective, right? Because art is, but it's something, and I even feel that about my own artwork. There's something about artwork that is like, you feel like you can do it too. There's something special about that. And so to me, it's more special than something that seems like impossible or unattainable. Like, if I see like the Sistine Chapel or like these huge murals, like, come on, man, I can't do that shit. Like, come on, these guys dedicate their whole lives to the perfect brushstroke and shit. When I would see his shit, it would be like, it's genius. It's literally like this fucking hand with like italicized things like around them, or like a word or an expression. Like, that was just like, oh, I could do that. People say I have cool handwriting. I could write a word and highlight it, right? Let me find something that's important to me, or a figure, a dog. You would draw dogs a lot. You would draw guys a lot, you know, like human people, or people celebrating, and people in togetherness and harmony. Like, to me, his art really represented New York City, you know? And when I would see it, I see it in the subway. I'd see shit all the time. I'm just like, bro, like, him and Basquiat were really like 2 artists that it always seemed like you could do it. And it's so funny that people devalue art that way. They'll say that's some easy shit. They might say Jackson Pollock or another artist is just like, that's just a splatter of paint. And it's like, so you do that, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is like, regardless of whatever you think about somebody's art, the amount of time they put into it gives them the freedom to sell for whatever they want. If you put in 50,000 hours into painting and you don't like this person's painting, it doesn't matter. Like, you think that anybody that put that much time into something is really that bad at it? Like, you can't judge it because it's art, it's subjective. So you can say Picasso or Kandinsky or whatever, Rembrandt, these are all like different artists, but what they do have in common is the copious amounts of time they put into being the best. And I think that all geniuses really do that unapologetically. They don't have a timer, like, I'm going to work on painting for 45 minutes today. You may say that, and then you work on that shit for 7 hours. You know how many times I've worked on something, and whether it's music or art, and I think that I'm done, but I'm not. And it's like a sculpture. It's a sculptor that you can't, it's incessant. And when you
Yeah.
love something, you unapologetically do it. Keith Haring's work to me was always something that was like, I could do that. And then you go and try to do it, and it's just not the same. And you actually realize that this person has thought about this way more than you have. And if you want to be that good, you need to put the time in too. And art to me, that's the difference. And I think that music is the same art form. It's like, oh, I can make beats like him. So turn on your beat machine and do it then. And
Mhm.
when you actually sit in front of this instrument, you're like, holy shit, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then at the same time, all you do is imitating. And I think that to be innovative means that you may be inspired by 50 different people to make the thing that you do, but whatever it is that you make it should reside with originality. It should be something that only you can create. So when I think of Keith Haring in a long way, it's just like, bro, if you could say I'm a fake ass Keith Haring artist, and I'll be like, cool, because he inspired me. Like, that's cool. But to me, there is no Keith Haring doesn't have a fake ass Keith Haring. He's what he is.
Yeah.
And he was, to me, one of the most prolific artists, because of his understanding of how to make something even sad have optimism. And he was speaking about a lot of positivity that the world needed. And his stuff is still revered today because of that.
I love that answer. He's definitely my favorite artist. Did you see I think it was last week they just discovered some more works by him on like those.
Nah,
He was one of the first people to start adopting like drawing on PCs. So there's all these like
crazy.
undiscovered work that was on these like computers that they're about to like sell on. I think they're turning them into NFTs, which has pros and cons to that. I don't know if Keith Haring would be into
I don't think he'd
NFTs,
be into that. I don't know him, but
but that is so insane. He was drawing on computers like in the 80s. That shit is insane.
it's nuts. It's
And
nuts.
I have this like it won't show up on camera. It's camera's too far away. But when I was 18, I went through this phase where I forgot Keith Haring's name somehow, even though he was like my favorite artist. I was trying to explain to people what his artwork was because I was like, he's my favorite artist, and he has those people and their hands are like this, and they're different colors. And I decided to tell this tattoo artist that, and they had no idea what the fuck I was talking
Like, what do
about.
you want me to draw, bro? Like,
So
what?
I ended up with these fucking. I have like the worst impression of like a Keith Haring picture on my shoulder, and it's just like three
Uh,
people that look like gingerbread men holding hands, and they're all different colors. And I'm like, Keith Haring. So my goal is to eventually
yeah.
get that covered, or just get a different Keith Haring picture somewhere else that's actually
At
Keith
least you
Haring.
know his name now to like
Yeah,
get the right photo, the
yeah.
right imagery.
It's so the tattoo's terrible. But it's like one of those like love hate tattoos at this point. But my favorite. Do you know anything about his artwork, Andy Mouse?
Mm-mm.
Ooh, so I just bought just like the prints from it. But Andy Mouse is Keith Haring's creation of Mickey Mouse mixed with Andy Warhol because they were like pretty close. And it's like it's if I was going to get a Keith Haring tattoo to either cover the shitty one I have, or I can't even say that's a Keith Haring tattoo to have the cover the gingerbread men I have on my shoulder. I would definitely you should look up Andy Mouse though, but it was basically like 4 pieces that he drew, and it's like a
Mhm.
collection, and it's like because I'm a huge like Mickey Mouse. I have like Mickey Mouse on my. I don't know if you could see this, but I have
Oh
like Mickey
shit, yeah,
Mouse on my
that's
on
dope.
my arm, and then I have in my new studio like I have multiple rooms. So one of them is for like when clients want to come in and record their own show, and then I have my own podcast studio, NAST Podcast, and it's kind of like a man cave at this point. It's like all these like different like Mickey Mouse stuff and shit, and then like the Andy Mouse is like right front and center.
Sick.
But yeah, that's super cool to actually hear you because I feel like you talk about him all the time on interviews, but I haven't really seen anyone actually ask you what your fascination with him was. So
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been asked that, to be honest. Yeah,
damn,
I
that's
love
wild.
Picasso a lot too. Picasso is the other one. Just the cubism and
100%.
just his understanding of how to geometric shapes representing people
Mm-hmm.
is the most fucking wild thing because like the human brain, I think I was reading this thing about the psyche of the human brain that we create. Um, we're so we're so present of ourselves as human beings. We know, especially within 3D and like what Steve Jobs is doing with Pixar, like
Mm-hmm.
um the human is so present of what humans look like that we associate anything that has structure, we look for human qualities, which is
Mm-hmm.
why when you look at clouds, you say like, oh, that looks like a face, or that looks like an apple, or whatever the fuck it is, or you see like a tree trunk and you see a face.
Mm-hmm.
So like that to me is mad interesting because like this isn't a face. This is not even a circle. Whose fucking head is shaped like a triangle? Like no one. So it's like, how do we still associate it with humans? And even animals are not shaped like that. So where does this come from? And it's weird. And I like that weird shit because it's just like, how did you formulate that? And why do you still recognize that as lips if it's not shaped like one?
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's a diamond, like how do we, it's this fascinating shit. And he was severely depressed and still created through music. And I think that most artists have been through some form of depression. Most people have, but
Yeah.
artists, I think, are more in tune with their emotions so much that they become so like, or like bipolar in a way. Like we'll fall out of love and um, go through like this like really judgmental period of like if you're good at what you do, even though you know you are. It's just like this weird, incessant like thing that we do it ourselves, and we kind of destruct ourselves in that way. And he painted, he's in the blue period, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like all these paintings he did based on how we really felt and how much artists we're dying for you to create through your pain. And we say, yo, like we want to hear or we want to see you. And they say, I'm too sad to make music or I'm too sad to paint. This guy was like, fuck that. Like, I feel horrible, but I'm going to make sure that people can still see how I was feeling. And you can be in 2023 and see stuff that he made during the blue period and be like, damn, this dude, thank God he did that. Thank God he didn't say he was too sad to pick up that brush because it's a testament of will. And it's inspiring, man, because we all don't feel good all the time, but that doesn't mean you should stop creating.
Mm-hmm. As you like further your way through the music industry, do you feel like you see artists that are obsessed with different forms of art, or do you feel like that's something that gets more unique with you?
That's a good question. I respectfully, I think that people just want to seem deep. I don't know what the fuck is this fascination with that. Not everybody has to be so deep. You could be into what you're into, but I think that the desire, it's almost like when I first started to make music, bro, it was like a thing to be like, I'm a rapper, producer, photographer, poet. You're like, how good are you at all that shit? If you
Yeah.
have like 9 things in your bio, bro, like pick one of those things and master it and then move on. So for a while, I didn't even want to tell anybody that I made art because like it just seemed like too, even though I'm dead ass about it, I just put a lot of time into it. It was like I had shame because it was embarrassing to say that I liked all these things and I would call myself that. And then when you meet somebody who really just dedicates their time to that, you pale in comparison, man. Nowadays, it's like people are obsessed with seeming so deep, and the world is so much smarter because the internet is so fast. Um, we have the answers to everything, but we have no experience. You don't
Mm.
have the experience because you didn't put the time in. You just have the answer because the internet is the fastest it's ever been. So like anything that you want to research, you can find it out. You can top in what are the top 10 best vacuums. It's like, yo, like that's what people want to know. There's some guy that puts his 10 best that's on YouTube. And
Yeah.
if you watch shit like that all day, it will give you facts based on somebody else's opinion, but that will never supersede a real experience. And I think that art, the desire, like even how like a West Side Gun, I'm a big fan of him, how he loves like Sotheby's and like he loves fucking like referencing dope artists and
Mm.
painters and shit. Like that shit to me is like if you really a fan of that, that's a really dope thing to add to your style or say Kanye or whoever. But
Yeah.
like it's kind of a weird time where people want everything. So to be unsatisfied with the art that you have, which is like music is right in front of your face, is there every day, but yet you still want more from the artist that you're listening to. You want it faster, you want better quality.
Yeah.
And I've always said this, if the first time you ever doing something, however old you are, is however long it took for you to do it the first time. And then
Mm.
every time after that, the intervals are smaller because you've already done it. And now people want it to be better, but you want less time to accomplish it. It's the most fucked up reality of an artist. It's like, whoa, I want a better album than the first one. It took me 80 years to make the first one. I'm 80 years old. I made my first jazz album. Now you want a better one next month? It's kind of fucked up to ask for, but that's when we love something, that's how our attachment is to it. And art is funny like that. It will always be that way too, I feel. Because especially how fast the internet is and information is exchanged so quickly.
Damn, dude, I love your thought process and things. That's wild. Did you have you seen the newest update on Google where it like gives you like a generated answer before it shows you the search engine results?
No, no, that's crazy. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like because you know about like Chat GPT, so it's basically
For sure.
it's basically like Chat GPT, but it's like Google's version now. So like if you it's
Mm,
like a setting you have to turn on, but like if you're like top restaurants near me or whatever, Google will give you its idea of the top restaurants, and then below it'll show you like the normal web pages and stuff. It's kind of wild. So the why like internet's changing like crazy.
you know, look, AI, people got to get with it. I think it's the new thing. It's fucking impossible to do, but like, let's just say, like, even when I first started to code, right? When I had to code, this is something gonna take you to some super nerdy shit, bro. Before the internet was, because you're young enough and you not to remember this. I know you won't. It's okay. When you first used to make websites, bro, you had to open Notepad and then create HTML text. You have to write HTML and do a heading, a middle, and an ending, a footer. You have to create all of that, and then when you save it as an HTML file, and when you open it, it'll turn from a Notepad file to a website page, and you click it,
Damn.
and then you start to build your website. That's how websites were first made, bro. Before there was any programming to help you do that, there was no Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver, all that stuff is not AI, but it's implementation of coding. So all somebody did was take that function and create something to help you do it faster. That's
Mm.
all AI really is anyway. It's just like, it's here, here's the answer. Let me get to it quicker. That's all it is. It's just that when people rely on it to do creative shit, that's the part of me that it's like that doesn't sit well with me. Functions are not so annoying. Even I'll do automation in Photoshop or like any program that you have to physically click and save or resize. You can create an automated function, a batch function in Photoshop so that the computer does it for you. That's
Mm-hmm.
a form of AI as well. So like there's things that we've seen before, but we've advanced to the shit to the point where this shit is like people think it's gonna like take people's jobs away in the creative market. I don't think so, but
Me
maybe I'm
neither.
just fuck that. I don't want no creative. I don't want no AI music. I don't care what anybody says. You can use it to inspire you, but that will never be better than Erick the Architect. I don't give a
For
fuck
sure.
how much rhymes or shit it pulls out for you. The human engagement and interaction will always be better than a computer. Like that's not gonna give you what you want. I don't want to e-date a girl. That's weird. Like you want to actually be with her. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not. I'm not threatened by that. Some people are so shocked and scared that that's gonna like kill everybody's jobs, but I think we're good. Like either get with it or just like let it ride. I don't think to hate on it is really smart.
Yeah, I have some of my friends are working a lot with AI and have like formed their own companies, and the best thing they say is like to look at it more as a creative tool than something that's just gonna take over your own life or career. So
Yeah,
that's
it's a tool. It's like it's a seasoning. It's not the whole meal.
for
And
sure.
can it be the whole meal? Maybe for some, but until then, we should just use it and be friends with it. Don't be scared. Like the whole thing with people replacing people's music and putting the voice shit. I don't even know if that's a trend anymore, but it was a little thing. It doesn't seem like maybe I'm just not tapped in, but like it was funny to hear Drake rap on this beat that he never rapped on or whatever. But
Hmm.
like, it seemed like that shit is done already. Like people were so obsessed with it. It doesn't seem like people are. If the funniest ones were like the SpongeBob shit and stuff like
Yes,
that. That shit is funny. Like,
SpongeBob making like a 50 Cent song type. Yeah, that shit was.
yeah, like that shit is funny. But like, is that really gonna be better than the real Sponge? No, it's not. It's like, come on.
100%. So my final question for you is: so if you guys are all, or at least you, are not living in New York anymore, does that mean Flatbush Zombies is more of uh, a thought, a mindset, versus actually you guys living in the, like, of course you'll still make music as a
Mm,
group, but
I like that.
you're not living in Flatbush now.
Nah, haven't in a long time, bro. It's been over 10 years that I've
Damn.
moved out of my parents' house, so I would say that. That's a good way to describe it. I would say that now living somewhere else, I actually feel, especially being here all the time, I actually feel more connected to New York than I ever have, bro, because now you have to actually reach out to your family and your friends more often to catch the vibes. Like, what's really going on? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what people really doing? And when I go back, I go to all my favorite spots, my Jamaican spots. I go check my people and shit. Try to go to my favorite Trinidadian spot. I want some roti. I want some chana. I want to be back where I'm at. And I think that I could appreciate it more now that I'm not there every day. When I was there, I think I was jaded. It is a mindset you take with you because you never lose the origin story. You can't fight it. It's part of who you are. And I think that no matter where I am in the world, I'm always going to be from Flatbush, bro. And New York has a certain paranoia that's instilled in us. We can't help talking loud. We can't help clapping with our hands and shit. We can't, certain New York tropes that will never go away. It's just, it makes guys like Larry David, bro. Like, it's the birthplace of Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then when you centralize Flatbush in itself, Flatbush is still, as a kid, I would thought I was joking, but like, it's a joke, but it's also like Flatbush is so Caribbean that I really thought there was no difference between Flatbush and Jamaica.
Mm.
Like when I actually went to Jamaica as a kid, I was like, this reminds me of my hood. Like, obviously there's different economic change, but we talk about people and music and vibes and clothes. It was the same shit, bro. Like,
Damn.
the shit you hear and see every day is literally what I've grew up on. And Flatbush to me is like, it's like no other neighborhood I've ever been to. It's like even though it's changed a lot from gentrification, to say that I'm a Flatbush zombie or to say that I'm from Flatbush is a certain time period that I can remember and I could talk about it. I don't care if I'm 90 years old, I still can remember those moments of growing up in the hood, like through the crack epidemic, through HIV and AIDS, you know what I'm saying? Through all the gun violence that was happening, through all the wars and gangs and shit. Like, that shit in the 90s made some of the craziest music and content you will ever see. And not just because that's what era I was raised in. You had so many fucking amazing things that had come from the hood that like we curated. And although it was a tumultuous time, it put us in a mindset of like, we can get out of this and it was better days ahead. It reminds me a lot of London too. New York City, people sing these songs to get out of the hood. And much like London, where it's rainy and foggy, people made all this great music because of the fact that they wanted to escape some of that darkness they saw every day, being overcast for months and months, raining all the time. I always felt attached to London because of those things we had in common. And there's no wonder I become friends with, Georgia Smith or James or Farr or, all my homies are that we grew up, we all have a similar story because of our neighborhood. So yeah, like, it is a mindset. It is something that you take with you. If I'm in LA, I'm not LA zombie. You know what I mean? I'm still Flatbush zombie.
Yeah. 100%. And my final question, I ask all the guests, what is some advice you have for up and coming artists, creators, and influencers?
Bro, for up and coming artists, it's a tough time to be yourself because we already have seen and witnessed things that have worked. And it's easy to follow something that's worked than to follow your own path. But I guarantee even if it's a slower tread, a slower race, a slower pace, that you'll get to where you're going to be. And you'll be proud of yourself to know that you didn't compromise or change yourself to fit in. It's okay to not fit in. Some of the best advice I've ever gotten from somebody was tell me that it's okay to not follow the herd. And, it'll take you a lot further. And when you get there, you'll actually be able to say you did it your way. You don't have to rely on somebody else to say that, well, you've got it, but you're lonely, So that it may be a long trek, But I guarantee you, you know, you'll get there and you'll be smiling still. You know, you still see a reflection in the mirror of who you really are, not a gimmick, you know. So it's hard, but don't give up.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for taking time to do this, man. This has been the NAST podcast with
Erick the Architect. Yeah.
and we did it.